While repositioning cruises can be an absolute bargain, they come with catches, watchouts, and easily made mistakes that can turn what looks like the cruise deal of a lifetime into a regret-filled trip. Welcome aboard. I'm Gary Bembridge, and having done many repositioning cruises, I want to share not only what they are and how to find them, but also the mistakes I see many cruisers make, and importantly, how to avoid them. First, what exactly is a repositioning cruise? Some people misunderstand exactly what it is. They are when cruise lines move their ships on one-way trips between different cruising regions, usually in spring and autumn. In spring, March, April, ships are moved from the Caribbean to Europe or Alaska for the summer seasons there, and in autumn, October, November time, ships are moved back to the Caribbean for the busy season there. Instead of sailing ships empty, the cruise lines sell these one-way journeys as what the industry calls repositioning cruises. The three most common are transatlantic repositionings between Europe and the Caribbean, Panama Canal US West Coast repositionings between Alaska and the Caribbean, and trans-Pacific repositionings like the one I'm just back from between Alaska and Japan. There are other, though less common repositionings, like to and from the Mediterranean via the Suez Canal to Asia, to and from Australia and Alaska via French Polynesia and Hawaii, and to and from South America and Europe. What many people don't appreciate is that repositionings almost all happen in only two time periods, spring and autumn. So cruisers are limited on when they can actually do them. And due to their distance, they're longer voyages lasting 10 to 21 nights, or sometimes even more. Unlike regular cruises around a region which are port intensive, they all have many sea days, often 5 or 6 in a row, as a line wants to get their ships in place to start running regular cruises as quickly as possible. For example, that Silver Sea Silver Nova Trans-Pacific repositioning I mentioned that I'm just back from, Alaska to Japan, it had 8 sea days, 6 of them back to back. So if they're so sea day heavy, why are they popular with so many cruises? And what do many not understand about them? First, they are fantastic value. Because they appeal to a limited market due to those sea days, few ports and length, fares are usually much lower per night than the same ship's regular cruises. For example, my Silver Nova repositioning daily rate was about half a regular cruise on that ship. And I've got transatlantic repositionings booked on Crystal and Regent for next year at even bigger per night savings. These lower fares have the added appeal to many cruisers because they can then afford to travel in a better grade of cabin or even a more premium cruise line than their budget would usually cover. For example, friends of mine frequently use repositioning cruises to be able to cruise on Viking, the small ship luxury line. Now, their regular cruises are way out of their budget, but they're not if they go on repositionings. I'm using repositionings to go on the ultra-luxury Regent and Crystal next year, as I mentioned, because it is way less cost than cruising on them normally. Another reason many go on them is for the very unique itineraries. Although there's many sea days in between, they usually offer unusual port combinations. For example, I once did a P&O Cruises repositioning from the UK to the Caribbean via the Canary Islands. Those are two regions you rarely see or can do in one itinerary. On that Silver Nova trip I mentioned, I got to visit Alaska and then 8 Japanese ports in one trip. The third reason I find many go on them is for the sea days themselves. Some people really love the chance to have days with no pressure to explore ports and be able to have days back to back to really relax, dive into enrichment lectures, and just enjoy ship life. One thing I found is repositioning cruises are chosen by highly social travelers because the multiple sea days, along with, as you'll hear more about later, mixed weather, means there's lots of time to meet and get to know fellow cruisers. The fourth reason many like them is for the vibe and similar traveler mix. They attract way fewer families because they're longer and fall in shoulder seasons, out of school vacation times, and the crowd tends to skew older, quieter, and is definitely more relaxed. I'm frequently asked by people attracted by all of these, how though do you find repositioning cruises, as they don't see them advertised normally? Probably the easiest way is to ask a cruise specialist travel agent, and if you are looking for a good agent, I have recommendations for those in different countries in an article on my blog at tipsfortravelers.com/agent. agents. However, there are a few great websites that list repositioning cruises that I use to check out options. My personal favorite and the most comprehensive by far is repositioningcruise.com. It's run by the well-known site vacationstogo.com. I find it not only has all options from resort mega ships to small ultra-luxury ones, but it's the best resource to easily look at all lines, itineraries and dates in one place and get a really good feel for the prices. Now I use this to see which would work, though I then actually use my travel agent to find the best fares and to actually book. But if you are set on a specific line, most have on their website an option to set a filter in their cruise search for repositioning cruises, and some have dedicated repositioning pages listing all of them. For example, Celebrity does that. And if you're on a cruise and want to do one on that same line, check in with the Future Cruise team and they'll absolutely be able to help. I did that and I got that Crystal Lisbon to Miami repositioning I mentioned with added onboard discount, a fare that gave me 1 grade upgrade and a pre-cruise hotel stay by doing it on board. Even when cruises have got all of this right, there are still a few areas where I see people getting things wrong. And here they are. First, many think they run like a regular cruise does. Being longer and with so many sea days, the lines must find ways to fill all of those days and keep passengers entertained. So I often see the program can be rather different to one of their regular cruises sailing in the Caribbean, Mediterranean, Alaska, and so on. On repositioning cruises, entertainment leans more to enrichment lectures, trivia, bingo, competitive activities like table tennis, golf, putting, officers versus passenger challenges, dance classes, cooking demonstrations, senior officer and theatre singers and dancers, Q&As, and it can get a little bit repetitive as they just keep repeating those things. The line only has a limited number of production shows, so they have to supplement them, as they did in my recent one, by letting the individual singers putting on specific cabaret shows, and even some of the live musicians on the ship put on concerts on my latest repositioning to fill the many nights. Also, I have frequently seen the lines try out new shows they're planning to roll out on repositioning cruises because there's time for performers to work on it, so they're not always quite right yet, and again, they did that on my recent repositioning cruise. Next, I have on all the ones I've done met cruisers who booked a repositioning on a line they'd never been on before because of the price or route being one that appealed to them. But they didn't enjoy it and felt stuck because the line wasn't to their liking or style. For example, other friends encouraged by the experience of those other friends I mentioned doing repositions on Viking, they booked on Viking and found quite quickly they didn't like it. They like an upbeat, late night, high energy vibe, a much more party-like program when cruising. So they disliked the quieter Viking vibe, which was lectures, smaller scale shows, no casino, less late night activities. It made the 12-day repositioning feel very long for them indeed by not choosing the right line. Also, many cruisers go on repositioning cruises assuming calm seas and sunny weather, but crossing oceans like the Atlantic or the Bering Sea between Alaska and Japan at those times of year can mean stormier weather and choppy seas. On repositioning cruises I've been on, there's been decks closed due to wind, pools closed or drained, lots of movement, so not always suiting people prone to seasickness. Plus, because they're in shoulder seasons before and after the best weather in a region, weather on a repositioning can usually be cold, wet and windy at times. This was the case on my most recent one too. Most cruisers also don't factor in that even the few ports on the itinerary could be cancelled due to this weather, increasing even further the number of sea days. This happened to me on that P&O transatlantic repositioning I mentioned, where we had to drop a port on the way due to weather. The most dramatic example I can think of weather impacting a transatlantic repositioning in the last few years is the Norwegian Aqua repositioning when it came into service out of the UK. Due to poor weather in the North Atlantic, it didn't even sail and end in the scheduled port of Boston at all. It sailed further south, it diverted and ended in New York instead. It took 3 days longer than scheduled to do that as well. The weather can make packing tricky too. Generally, the weather at the start and end will be quite different, with sweaters at the start and shorts and t-shirts at the end, or vice versa. So you do need to pack for a multiple set of weather. So for example, on that P&O Britannia from the UK to the Caribbean, it was autumn as we left and it had to be wrapped up with big coats, but by the time we got to the Caribbean, it was hot beach short weather. I also see far too many cruisers booking the wrong cabin on these. People who find an inside cabin works on a regular 7-night port-intensive cruise in the Caribbean, Mediterranean or Alaska find on a long repositioning it actually feels rather claustrophobic, especially as sitting out on the deck due to weather is not always possible for some of the trip. And they find with all the sea days and the pace, they actually want to spend a little bit more time in their cabin, and an inside or ocean view doesn't always work. But that's why kind of balcony cabins or sitting cabins with big windows can make a real difference on a repositioning because you use the cabin differently. Midship cabins are also really good because the sea conditions are likely to mean more movement, so midships is a good bet. One area I see many slip up is not factoring in the potentially high cost of the required one-way international flight and pre- and post-stay hotels. These can wipe out a lot of the savings from the lower cruise fare in many cases. For example, I needed to get to Anchorage to join that Silver Nova Trans-Pacific and stay a night. I did leave booking a hotel a little bit later than I should, and by the time I booked it, it cost me $600 for one night, even in the Hilton, because most of the hotels were sold out. If you don't factor all that in, the savings could disappear and the cost for the entire trip end up being not much more of a bargain versus a regular cruise. I also see people not thinking through the impact of time changes on repositioning cruises and going in the kind of the wrong or less ideal direction. Let me explain. On that Silver Nova from Alaska to Japan, we gained an hour every night, so a total of 7 hours in 7 days as we moved across time zones. This change overall felt more easy because when I went to bed, it was basically an hour earlier as I changed the clock back, giving me more sleep and rest. But if I'd headed the other way, I'd have lost an hour every night, and that would be much more brutal. But still, adjusting to that time zone change, a lot of people struggled with. The same with transatlantics. Westbound from Europe to the Caribbean, you gain 5 hours, making for 25-hour days, while eastbound, you lose it, having 5 23-hour days instead, and it can be rather tiring. There are a few practicalities that I have also seen many forget or not take enough account of, like not thinking through and checking any visa or transit requirements. As repositionings pass through multiple countries, there may be a need to get a visa or a series of ESTA or ETA, electronic travel authorizations, to enter different countries. They have to be applied for and sorted in advance, and not having them could mean being refused boarding if you don't have them. On some repositionings, there will be in-person immigration process, maybe multiple times, like we had on board when we were entering Japan on that Silver Nova repositioning. Many people assume Wi-Fi will be available and reliable with plans, or need to stay in touch with family or do some work calls or work. However, even with Starlink these days, you can't assume this, and you may need to pay for premium services to get streaming or to use a VPN, and there may be periods where it is patchy or not available. All of that was the case in that Silver Nova repositioning because it was an area where Starlink wasn't allowed to operate and the ship had to revert to the less reliable, slow marine satellite alternative. I also worry that many do not appreciate that travel insurance with cruise cover is really important on these longer sailings that sail far from land and ports. If you do need medical attention and must be medevaced, it will cost an absolute fortune. So having cover that includes both that and foreign hospital stays and repatriation home is essential. Bearing in all this in mind, who have I seen should and should not do repositioning cruises, and why? Repositionings are best for experienced cruisers who know that they love sea days. They're ideal for retirees or people with flexible schedules that can be comfortably away for that amount of time and can travel in the 2 narrow windows when these all take place. They're also a great option for budget-conscious travelers who want to do more days for less, especially if they enjoy a more enrichment and relaxed, focused program. I find them, by the way, also good for solo travelers because the better value fares make them more affordable, even if there's no solo supplement. They're not good for first-time cruisers nor families with kids, as it may prove rather hard to keep them entertained. They're also not right for anyone who wants port-intensive itineraries, dislikes sea days, or struggles a lot with motion sickness. If you're thinking of doing a repositioning on a premium line, why not join me over in this video where I compare and contrast them to see which is best and worst these days. See you over there.